This safety advisory is provided for utility personnel and/or their contractors who will encounter UtilX injection equipment on the utility's underground systems. It is the intent of the UtilX Safety and Training Department to provide guidelines for personnel unfamiliar with UtilX injection equipment. Prior to injection, cables are temporarily taken out of service and tested to determine the condition of the cables being addressed. Cables that meet the criteria for injection are re-terminated with injection terminations. After re-termination, pressure tests are conducted to evaluate the pneumatic integrity of the cables and the newly installed injection terminations. Once it has been determined that no leaks exist, fluid is injected into the cable. Cable cure injection fluids are injected into cables using pressurized feed tank containers, and contaminated materials are caught and maintained in a smaller sealed vacuum tank. It is important to note that terminations installed on the cables are permanent and are designed to prevent leakage. The cable cure injection process is completed in two ways depending on the size of the cable. Cables 3/0 and smaller use the inject and soak method. During the injection phase, a pressurized feed tank pushes fluid into the cable at one end, and a vacuum tank pulls and catches the contaminated fluid at the other end. Injection times vary due to cable characteristics, things like cable length, number of splices, size, and type of conductor. Most injections are completed in 1 to 2 days. Injection equipment will be found on both ends of the cable during the injection process. When injection is complete, the cables are put through a predetermined soak period. During the soak period, a feed tank will be used for soaking cables. It's attached to one end of the cable, and the other end will be sealed using a permanent cap. This will typically last between 60 to 100 days depending on the size of the conductor and insulation. When injection equipment is connected to cables, normal operation of the distribution system is allowed. However, there are precautions that must be taken to safely work on injected cables. Detailed instructions about operating cables with attached injection equipment are addressed later in this video. Cables 4/0 and larger use the inject and forget method. Large cables are never energized during the injection process and are rarely left unattended. After the injection is complete, large cables can be operated normally. These cables do not require a soak period, and no equipment will be left attached to the cable. Cables that have been injected with the cable cure fluids may contain fluid up to 5 years after the injection. When splicing or re-terminating injected cables, various precautions must be taken. Personal protective equipment is required. Safety glasses with side shields must be worn. Rubber gloves are required, and when handling injection equipment connected to energized cables, long-sleeve fire retardant shirts are necessary. Finally, work gloves are needed when working on confirmed dead equipment. Should switching of small injected cables become necessary, the following steps must be taken in order to switch the cables safely. Remove the feed tank and/or the vacuum tank from the enclosure using rubber gloves or a hot stick. Disengage the quick disconnects by pressing the small metal tab. Rubber gloves must be worn when manipulating any energized or potentially energized injection equipment. The QD is installed as a means to separate the feed tank from the injection elbows. Disengaging the QD separates the tubing into a smaller section attached to the injection cap. If the feed tank is equipped with a shutoff valve, close the shutoff valve. If the feed tank is damaged and leaking, pull the pressure relief valve. Disconnect the injection cap and install the permanent cap. Proceed with switching as per local procedure. Remember, the elbow can be switched with a short piece of tubing and the injection cap attached to the elbow. After switching is complete, reverse the steps of connecting the tubing by reconnecting the QD. Do not forget to turn the valve back to the on position. For mid-span repairs on an injected cable during the injection period, follow the same procedures as stated earlier for switching to relieve any pressure from the cable. Follow local rules for de-energizing and grounding the cable. Remove any fluid that may have leaked due to damage or fault and elevate the cable ends during splice preparation. Make sure extra absorbent towels are available. During the preparation for a splice, ensure that a 1/4-inch gap is established between the connector and the insulation. Remove and provide 18 inches of the faulted cable. This should include 9 inches from each side and should be sent to UtilX for analysis. Clean any leakage from insulation and semicon and complete splicing according to splice directions. For assistance of any kind, please contact the UtilX Regional Office. Be informed and stay safe.